On January 1st, 1983, something called the network infrastructure was developed by the U.S. Department of Defense. A few short years later came the World Wide Web in 1989 and forever changed the world as we once knew it. This technology came from CERN in Switzerland, which stands for the European Center for Nuclear Research. Now, on the horizon is the much talked about Fourth Industrial Revolution, which many people still do not realize is a global control mechanism rather than being something out of a sci-fi novel. This revolution is marked by a convergence of several technologies through the UN by way of the World Economic Forum. And they are AI, cloud computing, and digital blockchain, autonomous vehicles, weaponry, and 3D printing, along with gene editing, synthetic biology, and neurotechnology. That is to say, the digital, physical, and biological are morphing into a new trinity that controls every vital industry and service: food, energy, health, and transportation. One of the main points of this year's World Health Assembly was to make the pandemic treaty functional through something called the PABS system, the Pathogen Access and Benefit Sharing System, wherein the World Health Organization would have total control over each of the 193 UN member nations' health sectors.
The final remaining piece of the puzzle is the pathogen access and benefit sharing system. It has been said earlier by previous speakers, the PABS annex. Of course, we had all hoped that negotiations would be completed in time for PABS to be adopted at this assembly. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm confident it will, and I thank member states for their commitment to continuing negotiations and seeking consensus, which I have no doubt you will find and address the last piece of the puzzle. Science, data, norms, and standards, as some say, WHO's bread and butter, to consolidate and strengthen WHO's normative and technical work. By the way, this work is going to help the organization, because we are saying, and many of you are saying, WHO should focus on its core mandate, and this is the core mandate.
The proposed regulations would create a pathway to monitor and control how viral data and genetic samples are exchanged between countries for guaranteed, and as they call it, equitable access to treatments and vaccines.
The rules-based multilateral system and to the mandate of the World Health Organization. We meet at a time of profound challenge for global health arising from climate change, from conflict, and the impact on food production and the impact of geopolitical uncertainty. That is why the World Health Organization matters more than ever. But we know that scientific progress, innovation, and continued international cooperation gives us great grounds for optimism. Belief that global health must remain grounded in solidarity, equity, and equity must remain at the centre of what we do. This includes sexual and reproductive health and rights, ensuring that health systems are inclusive. Delivering on global health requires investment in health workforce through education, fair recruitment practices, international cooperation on workforce planning, and we're working to achieve that not just domestically, but embrace our wider responsibility as members of the international community. We must continue to implement lessons learned from our response to COVID-19, which demonstrated the vulnerabilities in the global health systems, but also the potential of scientific collaboration.
With the United States being one of just 5 permanent member nations of the UN Security Council, and even with the reduced participation under the Trump administration, the current trajectory points in the direction of less national sovereignty, if not none at all. And even if you don't believe or disagree with this agenda, your personal sovereignty has already been hijacked by your data, for your convenience, through your smart screen and cell phone. This is James Anthony reporting.
Thanks for watching this video. Support the quest of the James Anthony Report by purchasing from one of our Patriot-approved sponsors over at jamesanthonyreport.com or by clicking the link in the description below.